All right, so we've been talking about the types and everything, and so now is probably a good time to talk about the WriteLine and writing stuff out to the console. So let's go ahead and create a variable. And we've done something like this, console.WriteLine, and we would say num1. And this will print out just the number to the screen. You can also do something like the value of num1 is, add these together, and so that will print out the value of num1 is 42. And so you can add strings together in this WriteLine. You can also build a string, but we'll talk about strings a little bit later. The other thing you can do is you can say the value of num1 is, if you put the curly brace and then an integer there, comma, num1. This will say, okay, take num1, put it in a 0, or put it in where that 0 is. Value of num1 is 42. This does work with other integers as well. Int num2 is equal to 24. And num2 is, so if we put curly brace 1, num2. We add num2 in there, this will put num2 in that location. Value of num1 is 42 and num2 is 24. You could duplicate this, you could say a 0 there, and this will say 42 and then 42 again. Again, it's going to be 0 indexed. Notice that we're getting the two 42s there. And this is grayed out because, well, it's not actually getting used in the format string. So you can do a format string like this. You can also say, let's see, something like this. You can say, go ahead and get rid of that. 0 plus 1 is equal to, let's go ahead and do int sum is equal to num1 plus num2. And then we'll just go ahead and do curly brace 2, num1, num2, sum. And this will print out 42 plus 24 is equal to 66. This right here, that has to be dereferenced to an individual positional value there. This is a common way, and when you look online at a bunch of code, you'll see code which is very similar to this, using kind of a format string. This is similar to Python's dot format, where you would have a string with curly brace and then numbers, dot format, and then you would have a comma separated list of the variables. C# does have something which is very similar to Python's f strings, if you're familiar with those. And so those are, you put a dollar in front of it, and you then put quotes around it, and you just say something like the value of num1 is, and then in here, instead of putting a 0, you put num1. And this will print out the value of num1 is num1. Or in this case, 42. And in fact, you can put anything in there, provided that it is an evaluatable C# statement. Now, it does have to be fit on a single line. There are some ways around that, but it's a lot easier if you just make it fit onto one line. So you could say, num1 plus num2 is equal to sum, for instance. This will print out 42 plus 24 is equal to 66. Or in here, we could say num1 plus num2. Notice that I'm just adding in the addition there instead of printing out sum. Notice we're getting the exact same output. So this $sign there, so this line and this line and this line So all three of these lines will print out the exact same information. So these are all comparable. We could even go one further, console.WriteLine. We could say num1 plus 2. Oops, I need to put a plus there. So we could write it out like this as well by adding in the strings in there that we're going to add together. If we run this, notice that all four of these are exactly the same. I really like the string interpolation, which is what this is known as, where you put a $sign in front of it, and then that evaluates everything inside of that. So I will start using string interpolation a lot more in my code. Every so often I may fall back to this syntax or occasionally this syntax, but I'm going to try to use string interpolation a lot more just because it feels a lot more natural.